Okay. If you're gonna, well, I think you already signed in both of you, so. Okay.
He did.
First thing is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Any
I'll make a-
discussion, any question?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second that.
All in favor? Raise right hand. Old business,
First item under old business is 713 West Carolina Avenue. The applicant has requested to be deferred again. He is not able to be present for the meeting. So we would just need a motion for deferral, and when he's available, hopefully we can get him back on the agenda so his case can be heard.
I move that we deferred this one.
Thank you. The first item under new business is TMS number 136110758, which is 193 James Street. This is zoned PUD, Plan Unit Development, owned by Andre Bryce and Keith Karn. Variance request to reduce the required front setback from 25 feet to 10 feet and the rear setback from 25 feet to 15 feet for a residential structure. Ordinance section 2.10. This is an application by Mr. Buzzy Sharpia, who actually now owns the property. He closed recently, in between the writing of it as well, and then today. So that's why the ownership and the applicant is slightly different. It was determined that a variance was needed for both the front and the back to be able to fit a house on this particular lot, which is triangularly shaped. Let me get past the pictures. This is the location here, this triangular shaped lot right at the end of James Street. You can see here on the subdivision plat, this was slated for future development, so it is a buildable lot. And unfortunately, the side got cut off when I scanned it, but the intent is to put a house on the lot. And the request is for 10 feet on the front and 15 feet on the rear. So staff's position, and staff feels that the applicant does meet all four criteria and that a hardship is present. Extraordinary conditions do exist on the property. The shape of the property, being a triangle, severely limits the placement of a structure on the property. Any house plan would have required a variance to be able to be built. The other property in the area do not have similar lot shapes or sizes. Utilization of the property is severely limited by the shape of the property, and detriment will not be caused to other properties by the issuance of this variance on this property. I know that the applicant is here, and we can, if you have any questions for him, we can turn it over to him.
gotta get a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the request.
I would second the motion. I've been out to the property and it does appear that it meets all four of the criteria.
Any discussion? Favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next agenda item. It's been passed. That's you, Gordon? You're welcome.
The second item under new business is TMS number 14612040055, which is 124 Saw Palm Drive, zoned PUD, planned unit development owned by Laura and Clifford Pfeiffer. Variance request to increase the maximum lot coverage from 35% to 39% for a patio cover. Ordinance section 2.10. The need for the variance was determined at the time of building permits. This proposal is for covering an unpermitted expansion of a patio prior to the requirement of permits for lot coverage. A large shed is also present on the property, contributing to the lot coverage issue. Though there may not be a flooding issue immediately on the property or directly adjacent, all lot coverage contributes to an overall systemic issue. Staff feels that the applicant does not meet all four criteria and that a hardship is not present. Extraordinary conditions do not exist on the property. The shape of the property and size of the property are very standard for the development. B, other property in the area do have similar lot shapes and sizes. C, utilization of the property is not negatively impacted by the application of the lot coverage limit to this property. And D, detriment may be caused to other properties by the issuance of this variance on this property. The overall development was engineered to allow for each lot to have, oh, shoot, I didn't edit that properly. This is for prior lot coverage one. I apologize. Yeah, my apologies. Supposed to have up to 35% lot coverage. With the approval of a variance at this location, it will contribute to overburdening the as-built stormwater detention for the overall development and may contribute to the flooding of other properties within the neighborhood and other areas in town. Sorry, I failed to read that earlier. But the limit is 35% and they are requesting 39%. So this plat shows an existing sunroom and there is a patio on the side of the sunroom as well as a shed. Both the shed and the patio were installed before our zoning permits were implemented. And that is why it was existing, the lot coverage was existing and why they need to bring it into compliance because they did not get permits for either of those two items. And even though they're covering existing lot coverage, to be able to allow this permit to go forward, we need to address the lot coverage as a whole. So.
Do you have anything to say?
And I was gonna say, we've only owned the home for 6 years, so we kind of inherited what we have. And the roof structure that we're wanting to put over the patio is over the existing patio roof surface. And I don't know if it matters, shed sits up about a foot off the ground, so water is able to flow underneath the shed.
And my question, the base for the patio right now, that's a non-permeable substance, correct?
Correct. It's concrete.
Okay,
And to my knowledge, it's tied into the foundation, so it's my understanding it's been there since the house was built. I
Alright.
couldn't attest to it.
and I think you do have a picture of that, don't we, Tim? Of the actual, yeah.
So you want to cover with paved plus the pavers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
And I'm just clarifying, I know Tim had mentioned this, but this was put in place in the shed prior to the ordinance being passed. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the patio expansion as well as the shed, when we go through historical aerial photos, you can see that there's been a shed and this patio in place prior to 2019. 2019, when we adopted the Unified Development Ordinance, is when we started implementing the zoning development permits, which is what we utilize to review lot coverage. And that applies to sheds and any impervious surface additions. Sheds do not need a building permit if they're less than 200 square feet. So most of them fall under the zoning development permit requirement.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we approve the request.
I second it. Any other discussion?
I'm just confirming that this is where the shed is just going to cover what's already there. So we're not adding to any, right, we're not increasing that at all. So,
And
yes,
it was in existence. Right hand.
All right, the third item under new business is TMS number 153-03-03016. 622 Old Trolley Road, zoned UCMX Urban Corridor Mixed Use, owned by 622 Old Trolley Road LLC. Variance request to increase the permitted side signage from 5% to 11% for additional signage. Ordinance section 10.4.3A. All right, so. Pause. The need for a variance was determined at the time of building permit for the signage. Staff feels that the applicant does not meet all four criteria and that a hardship may be present. Extraordinary conditions do exist on the property. The shape of the property and the orientation of the buildings on the property facing a central parking lot is unique. Let's just get over to that. I'm sorry. There we go. All prior signage has been applied to the facades facing the parking lot and have been assessed as front signage, which is permitted to be up to 10% of the building facade. By determination of the zoning administrator, the sides of the building facing Old Trolley are by default side facades and limited to 5% for signage. Other property in the area do not have similar lot shapes and building orientations. C, utilization of the property is not negatively impacted by the application of the 5% signage limit. It is the applicant's position that additional signage on the facade facing Old Trolley would be beneficial to the businesses located within the center. Detriment will not be caused to other properties by the issuance of this variance on this property. It will, however, set a precedent for other variances within the corridor for signage.
Slide showing.
Yep, 1 second, let's.
That's all they want to do is put fire.
That's correct.
And-
There's more businesses in there than five, right?
Yes. Now, it is the property owner's prerogative to choose who gets signage in these types of situations. It isn't always limited to just the end units, though oftentimes those are benefits to being one of the end units. Is you would depending on how it's doled out, get that. In this particular instance, they've chosen to go forward with this proposed plan, potentially. 5% of that would be, none of those signs would be readable. Honestly. Would be readable if they shrunk them down to the 5%. They're not lit, they're just aluminum frames, probably vinyl panels or metal panel sign.
And it wouldn't apply to the other building that's in the shopping center on
They've,
the left?
oh, yeah, they've only requested it for this end, this side. I mean, Bad Kitty is on the other, in the other building, in the longer building. So is the Forward Church.
Now I don't, well, that's why I was
I
curious.
actually, I think the Allied Arms is in that one too. Yeah. Only the Ballet Center and no, I think Bet Masters is in the longer building as well. So really 4 out of the 5 are actually in.
Well, Allied Arms.
No, it's not.
No, it's in the longer building. It's in this building here. They're proposing it on this building. Yes. This one has palm trees and whatnot in front of it.
So this would be so people coming up Trolley can see the backside. And either way.
Yeah, hopefully, and the intent, having spoken to the sign contractor who's not here at length, they believe that the additional signage on this side, because they don't have space to put a freestanding sign out here, and the restrictions on a freestanding sign are such that they wouldn't be able to get much. They're going to get more signage by doing it this way than by doing a freestanding sign. And if these other companies and other units don't want that extra exposure, so to speak, or they don't feel that's necessary, they're just not going to get that privilege to be on that end of the building.
Here you go through the analysis a second ago. Here's that looking from, because they designated this the side and not the front. That's why.
That's my determination.
Okay.
So over the years, all of the units that have signage next to their front door. And those front doors face that internal parking lot. I have considered that over the past 6 years to be their front signage, and they're allowed up to 10% of that front facade to be dedicated towards signage. Each of the individual units and as overall. So when they came in for signage on the side, it's limited to 5%. And to divvy that up between more units as opposed to just the end units, which is what is typically done at most strip centers. The end unit has that extra bonus of signage that's exposed to the side. They decided to move forward with a plan like this. Now, obviously, they're not here to explain. So I'm not defending, I'm not advocating for, but my determination was that it's a side because historically we've assigned front to those front door signs.
Should that ever be changed where you reverse that?
They'd have to change all their signage out. Yeah.
And that's the way that shopping center is laid out. Because if you, I'm crossing that. Like it says that signage, but really the church is back over here. It's not like the side.
Yeah, the church is back in like these units, like 118 and 116. Bad Kitty's up front over here. Allied Arms is over here. Sorry. The Pet Masters, I believe, is back here in like units 122 and 124. Like I said, the only one that's in this building is the ballet center. And I think they're right here in like 128 or so. So,
Trying to get more visibility.
yeah,
And I can see that. I do, I'm not real prepared yet. We're constantly slowing down in front of there. Because I can't say what they're about.
And plus the people, there's a high traffic, it's close to where the old fashioned is, there's a lot of high traffic in and out of there. And I can see that, put signage up, because the people, you're right, coming up trolley, will give them do something, you know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they come back to want 5 more. That's what I'm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem.
yeah, I mean, truthfully, I think they should have provided an exhibit showing it on both. And then we could say that, but as of right now, based on what they've provided is they're only looking for these 5 panels. And that takes up 11% of this particular facade. So that is what I would go to. I mean, if they wanted it on the other building, then they would need to limit it to tenants who are in buildings. I mean, we can't expand their request, and all that their request is shown is on this building.
The question I have is, percentage of that building, no matter what, in the signage,
The front facade,
and on the side,
the side is limited to 5% according to the ordinance.
5%
Yes,
total.
total.
We're going to 11.
And they are requesting to go up to 11% to make those signs readable.
What they show is 11.
Correct.
I thought there was another view that showed both of them.
That's just the 4x8 panels. That's the building. And they would go up here.
If you think about strictly in a business, if you open up a small storefront kind of business and you're in the back of the center, how you gonna get your mess out?
To the electronic rotating sign.
No, what about that?
No, I mean, that's when they could show all 15.
Yeah,
They could go through it, except somebody had to stop in the middle of the road. And make a right and make a left.
Then they'd have to get DRB approval.
I suggest that on the road.
Any other discussion, question?
I was gonna make a motion to approve. I'm making a motion to approve the request just because for safety's sake. First of all, I think it's gonna help people who are driving up and down Trolley locate the business.
I second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Said left hand.
I move to adjourn.
Well, I did want to bring up
Oh,
one
sorry.
thing under miscellaneous is, John, you're exempt because you're an attorney, but everybody does need to get 3 hours worth of, training per year in. I know Don and I spoke earlier. He's going to attempt to get there. He's already got it. Lionel said that he's working on that. If you want an update, just let me know and I can make sure that you're made aware of where you're at for your annual training.
If I take additional training now, it won't count for this year.
I didn't look at the spreadsheet.
Count for next.
It doesn't carry over. So if you do 6 hours now, it doesn't matter.
No, I checked it out.
Okay.
And also,
I
I've done all my training.
Okay.
I mean, but I haven't heard anything from you, but
As I said, I did not look at that. I'm gonna make this announcement at the design review board as well. And I just want to make sure that those that
I've had.
need it to get it done.
Would you do
But-
us a favor and just double triple check
Yep, I will go ahead and do that.
us an email that, yes, you're covered? I know that's what the lady in the camera.
Pam. And Pam has moved on to a different position, so she's moved to a different position here at the town, so you will now be dealing with Remy Clark. So if you get an email from Remy, he would be the one who's gonna be tracking that stuff, taking over her position.
That I sent, and you're an email a couple weeks ago, just to confirm, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Did she copy all of us?
You sent out a notice of another one coming up, I replied to that, but I think I'm good, we double check, you sent that, the guy with the.
Excellent.
Did we not do that together when I did? Yes, I did.
We did it at the bar.
Yes, yes, I remember that, but yes, there were two certificates. Did my,
I'll vouch for it.
did my three. This is actually. Yeah,
I'm gonna do it, but I already. Thank you.
all better.